On a tiny British Columbia island, 100 miles from any white man's city, live the Ahausats, 400 proud, unknown heirs to a lost empire. Through hard years and just plain bad years, they cling to their ancestral village on a narrow neck of land at the southern tip of Flores Island, a village easy to defend, impossible to retreat from, an Ahausat village. For hundreds of years before the white man came, the Ahausat people were among the richest of the Pacific coast. They lived off the sea. From fragile cedar dugouts, they harpooned Pacific whales and trolled through vast schools of salmon. Their clam beds were bountiful, and schools of herring clouded the waters. 100 years after the establishment of white civilization, they are in the depths of poverty. Walk softly down the packed earth paths of Ahausat and listen for the sound of battle. A late skirmish in the white man's war against the Indian is taking place here. Don't close the history books. It is true that the echo of the last cannon shot has long since faded, and the blood of the last massacre is dust. The white man has put down his musket, the Ahausat his spear. But the white man's terms for victory were unconditional surrender. And unconditional surrender is not yet here. The Ahausat's spirit of resistance waned a while, but his instinct for survival lived on. The weary warriors of Flores Island have rested and grow strong. Their Thunderbird grows restless now. His steely eyes take in the alienated forests and the shrinking fisheries of a vanished kingdom. Ask not if he will take to wing, but when.
We shall now open the meeting. Our discussion this morning will be the new project and the housing and the 112 million. We'll now turn the meeting over to our chairman, Nelson Keelan.
Here they made their stand against the mighty Haida raiding parties, and here they drove them off. Here the Ahausats stood tall to the withering fire of Her Majesty's frigates. Here the Ahausats live today, rekindling their spirits, sharpening new weapons to carry the battle once again to a strange enemy, using strange ways.
This was a matching grant, whereas the rich bands would put up quite a bit of money, and some of the poorer bands would be the who would not benefit on this at all. And in general, I didn't think it was. I don't think that's a fair distribution, because it's the same old story where the rich get richer and the poor stay poor.
The Ahausat has fought many battles with the white man. The Battle of Arms, which he lost, the Battle of the Truce Table, which he also lost, the battle against the diseases of the white man, which he very nearly lost, and the battle of bureaucracy, which still goes on. There will be more battles, a battle for economic equality, just now beginning, a battle for the return of lost resources, and the fulfillment of old pledges made and not kept.
We hear so much about living in a dynamic society, and we need so much improvements on reserve that it's not dynamic at all when you look at some of our situations.
If you are a white man, please be advised that your old adversary, the Ahausat, is not yet conquered. Please be advised that he's not accepted your confiscation of the lands which gave him timber for his shelter and towering cedars for his canoes. Please be advised that he resents your seizure of his fishing rights, the curtailment of his hunting rights, and that he holds in contempt your abrogation of his inherent art of conservation. Please be advised that he bitterly resents your failure to employ him in numbers in the forests he lost, in the packing plants which grow from the fisheries you took away. You must be very brave to turn your back on him that way. Paul Sam is the hereditary speaker for the hereditary chiefs of the Ahousa's. The hereditary chiefs of the Ahousa's used to speak much, and so Paul Sam was in great demand to speak for them, because they knew no English. But today, the Ahousa's have elected leaders who talk English, and the hereditary chiefs say very little, and Paul Sam says very little for them.
This year, we haven't too much information from our department in regards to financial standing or what houses are coming into the new project. They have no reports whatsoever to come out to give us sound information what we could work by. And it appears that there's a lack of communication between the council and any department where...
And so the elected leaders meet, and they speak a great deal. And Paul Sam says very little for them, but still he speaks. The white man and the Indian are brothers now, he says. But sometimes I do not understand my white brother. Paul Sam says this as though the deities of the Ahousa's had failed him in not granting to him a greater power to understand. Paul Sam, can't you try a little harder?
Told the people that they would look after them, like social welfare, and they would look after them in education. They would get free hospitalization, free education, free medical care, all come with it. Sunrise to sunset, as long as that sun comes up and goes down, that means forever. So what we have been trying to get the Indian Department not to break what Queen Victoria promised to the PC Indians. We are non-treaty Indians. We don't get any treaty money. So therefore, this country belongs to us. I ask the Director of Indian Affairs from Ottawa, does the British law, can the British law take away what we eat? The same thing applies to our land question. He says, we are buying your land. We are paying for it. Well, I said, show me the bill of sale. Have you got the bill of sale?
Listen carefully, Paul Sam. Smooth the furrow from your wrinkled brow, and we shall go at this step by step, and surely all will be made clear. Here you were, Paul Sam. You had taken this neck of land from your enemies, and you seized the resources. Now, Paul Sam, you really weren't doing very much with them. You took your simple needs, and you fed and clothed yourselves, but you weren't really developing anything, now were you? Well, anyway, Paul Sam, for very sound reasons, too diverse to go into right now, the white man came among you. You had all the whales you could kill, all the salmon you could eat, all the cedars you could ever carve into canoes, all the herring, the clams, the sea otter, and the seals. Your white brother just wanted some of what was left. He wanted sea otter skins, and he gave you perfectly good articles in trade. What do you mean, trinkets? Sure, there were some sharp traders, but did you have to kill them in cold blood? Naturally, the frigates came and shelled your village, and the women and the children. Anybody knows that when an Indian brother kills a white brother, then white brothers come back and kill some Indian brothers. You can understand that, can't you, Paul Sam? Well, the fact is that you didn't really get enough sea otter skins for your white brother. There were thousands of them out there. You just weren't very efficient. So your white brother had to try himself. Yes, that was too bad. You've actually seen a sea otter. Oh, back in 1923. Anyway, he had to forbid you from killing them. You wouldn't want to wipe them right out, now would you? Paul Sam, do you remember when the salmon were at your doorstep? Shimmering silver hordes of salmon? More than your people, more than all the Indians of British Columbia could ever use. The salmon are still there, Paul Sam. What's that you say? You cannot take the salmon from the rivers because your white brother has told you they must be left to spawn, so there will be salmon again next year. Well, Paul Sam, that's conservation. No, I do not know why your white brother does not conserve the salmon by caring for the spawning beds as your people did. I do not know why he fails to clear the log jams that cause the scouring of the beds where the salmon lay their eggs. But surely, Paul Sam, you do not have to take the salmon from the river when there are so many in the sea. No, I did not know that the salmon will shed their fat in the river, or they will spoil on the drying racks and leave your people hungry through the months when there are no salmon. Yes, I've noticed many of your fish boats are small and also very old, and you're quite right that your white brother would not wish to be on one when it was 40 miles out in the open Pacific, where the height of the waves is sometimes greater than the length of your fish boats. But Paul Sam, there are your white brother's banks, where your people could borrow the money to buy newer and bigger fish boats, which would compete with the fish boats of your white brother, and which would bring you much money with which to buy food to last you all the year. They will not lend money to your people. They say they cannot give you money because you have no security. But what about your land, Paul Sam, and your house, which rests upon it? The land is not yours. It is the land of the Ahousads. I see. Well, I suppose you cannot blame the banks, really, then. It is very important they get their money back.